Hi, and welcome to MissFrog. MissFrog is a software designed for companies who are looking to implement or maintain their ISO certification, and it is a software that is solely focused on ISO certifications, and it specifically handles 4 different types of standards: ISO 9001, which is a quality management system; ISO 14001, which is an environmental management system; ISO 27001, which is an information security management system; and ISO 45001, which is a health and safety management system. So, without further ado, I wanted to get into this explanation of what MissFrog is and how you are going to interact with this software whilst you are implementing and maintaining the ISO certification of your organization. And before starting, I wanted to explain that there are 2 different roles that you might have within the software. Okay, so you might either have a relatively restricted access, whereby you're going to have a view of your tasks and all the documents pertaining to the management system within your organization. Okay, so you're going to have a full overview of all documents within your management system and the tasks that you are responsible for. Or else, in a more managerial position, you'll be able to see all of the screens that I'm going to be showing you in this demonstration, but also you'll be able to edit information directly within the management system, which will impact directly the management system. For example, by changing certain elements within the manual section, you'll be effectively updating the manual of your organization. Okay, so that is something that I wanted to explain before even starting. And now that we've covered the basics, I wanted to explain 2 most important elements of MissFrog and what it does. Okay, so first of all, as you can see, we have a centralized location where we can store all information relating to our management system, which is the document control. You will access the document control by clicking on the name of the company and clicking document control. Okay, over here you're going to have the manual itself. Okay, so if you click on a button, information security manual, you're going to see the manual that is being generated within MissFrog itself, and you're going to see any other documents relevant to that particular section. There's going to be the processes here, there's going to be the internal audits, management reviews, etc. And you can toggle between one standard and the next by clicking on that particular drop down over there. Okay, so here we can see more documents relating to the management system, in this case of ISO 9001, where we are seeing more documents relating to the supplier evaluation sheet, the CAPA sheet, etc. All of these documents would have been uploaded as part of the implementation, and the beautiful part about this is that all information is going into one place, so we wouldn't forget that we have created that document in the first place. Moreover, there is a centralized task management system which is taking information from all elements of the management system: internal audit, external audit findings, Annex A control, risk assessment, mitigations, conversations that we might have during management reviews and other meetings. Okay, so all of these tasks are all going into the same location, and this is particularly useful to make sure that nothing falls through the cracks and we don't forget of any of the tasks that we have to do to make sure that we are always compliant with the requirements of the relevant ISO certification that we are following as an organization. Okay, so these are 2 essential elements relating to MissFrog, whereby we have a centralized location for all the tasks and a centralized location for all documents to make sure that everything is in one place and we don't have any loose ends and nothing falls through the cracks. Another topic that I wanted to speak about is these dashboards. Okay, so as soon as you log in, I invite you to click on the dashboard button, or else you can click on the name of the company and click company dashboard, which will take you to this particular screen. Okay, here you're going to see the percentage completion, Okay, it's going to tell you how much time you and your colleagues have spent on working on this particular ISO certification. You're going to see only the tasks relating to yourselves as the client, and naturally you're not going to see the tasks relating to the consultant, because those are being handled by the consultants themselves. And here you have the implementation steps. Okay, by clicking on this button, you'll effectively close this accordion style menu, and as you can see, you have all the information in one place, easily accessible for you. Now, these are the steps that we're going through for the implementation. Okay, note that over here you can click timesheet to have more information about the timesheet. You can click company users to add more users to your organization. Note that at MS Frog we believe that the more people you involve in your management system, the better it will be, and therefore we do not price per user, but we price per organization. So I strongly encourage you to add as many people as you want to the organization to make sure that everyone has the full level of visibility they need and deserve to fully understand how the company operates in terms of its management systems. And here you can edit company details, which you know, wouldn't be done certainly very too often. The most important section that I wanted to speak about is this particular section. Okay, so this is the implementation overview. You will access that particular screen by clicking on this button. Okay, as you can see here, you can toggle between one standard and the next, and part of the beauty of this particular software is that, as you can see, we're following the same structure for all the different standards. The only thing that's changing is that instead of having a quality manual for ISO 9001, if we're talking about ISO 45001, we're going to have a health and safety manual. Okay, naturally the information within the standard itself would change accordingly. Okay, so for example, for ISO 27001, as you might know, we have NXA controls, and all of that is being catered for over here. So let me explain what each of these sections are. Okay, so in the first part, so here we can see that there are different sections. Okay, so ISO 9001 is still in the implementation stage. In fact, we have an implementation overview, and ISO 27001 has been certified. This particular demo company has been certified for ISO 27001, and therefore we have the maintenance overview. Having said that, as you can see, the structure remains practically the same. For the sake of this example, let's use the implementation overview. And the first thing that you're going to do is to do the training. Okay, so the training is something that you've already accessed to see this actual video. Okay, and all the training courses can be found over here pertaining to the particular standard that you are working on. The gap analysis section is typically filled in by management, and here I would ask you to fill in some information about the reason why you want to get ISO certified, to add some documents that might be relevant to the management system to help us build a very relevant management system that is tailored to your exacting needs. And also there is a section whereby there are a set of questions within the gap analysis, whereby through you answering these questions, we would be able to fully understand your current posture in terms of the respective standard that you're choosing to get certified for, so that we can create a management system that is tailored to your exacting needs. Another element within the software is the manual. Okay, so each of these pages has certain information that would need to be considered. For example, interested parties. Okay, so all of the pages are following the same structure. So you would have the interested parties, for example, and what their needs and expectations are. And the beautiful part about this software is you don't need to understand which clause each particular page is covering. You just need to understand how to answer each of these pages within the software. And by answering all of these questions, then you would have effectively complied to all the requirements of the standard. If you want to get more detail, you can click on this button bottom left, okay, which is available for all standards, and as soon as it loads, this is an external page which is on Notion, you'll be able to understand how MS Frog is addressing each of the requirements of the standard. Okay, so there is clause 3 is being covered by the manual, clause 4.1 being covered by the manual, clause 4.1 being covered by the manual within the section products and services. Okay, so this is the button that you would need to press. Okay, let me just press it again for your reference. Okay, so it will open an external document and all the information would be displayed over here. Okay, here you have an explanation that, for example, please specify all stakeholders and interested parties of the organization. This page is common to all ISO implementations. Updating this screen will also affect the corresponding screens in other certifications. Okay, so I think that that's pretty self-explanatory. Another section that might be good for you to understand is that in the context analysis, okay, we have a place where we can define the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Okay, and if we were to take, for example, highly dependent on a single product, too many eggs in one basket, okay, a very literal explanation of a risk, automatically that risk or that weakness or threat will be placed here. Okay, so highly dependent on a single product, too many eggs in one basket. As soon as you click on a particular risk, you're going to have a place where to define the severity, the likelihood of occurrence, and the ability to detect. If you're not unsure about which grading to give over there, you can click on that particular icon, which will give you an explanation for each. For example, a 7 in terms of severity, it would mean that there is a reduced primary function performance. Okay, so all the information has to be placed within the manual. Okay, and there are two outputs that we're going to expect from this particular standard for ISO 9001, whereby we have the template for the quality policy. Okay, so you can either download it or publish it directly from within MS Frog, and as soon as you have answered all of these questions, you'll also be able to export or to download the quality manual from within the software. So download or publish. The same happens for other standards. You can toggle between one standard and the next by going back to the company dashboard. Okay. As you can see, for example, if we were to take ISO 27001, which is in maintenance mode, okay, it follows the same exact logic. So we're clicking on the manual, and here we also have the opportunity to finalize or to publish the statement of applicability that is only possible after you complete all of the Annex A controls. Okay, so far I have spoken about, so back to the implementation overview. Okay, so far I spoke about the training, gap analysis, manual, and now I'd like to speak a little bit about the processes. So the best standards to talk about processes is definitely ISO 9001. Okay, so let's see what processes do we have over here. Let's see the logistics process, for example, and as you can see, the logistics process has been completed. Okay, so logistics, we know that it's completed because here it's being marked as green. Okay, When you click inside the process, you're going to see all the steps within the process. You can easily add other steps, decisions, terminators, or labels from the information you have here. If you'd like, you can also toggle full screen to be able to see the flowchart in a clearer way. Note that as soon as you scroll down, these operators will come stuck to the top menu to make it easier for you to actually work on this particular task of mapping out or editing the process. So let's say that the product development team lead has a responsibility to check chart to note the expected delivery arrival dates for the process called logistics installation. Within the job descriptions for the product development team leader for that particular process, we're going to see all of the information over here that the person has to do. Okay, so as you can see, the processes are feeding the information for the job descriptions, okay, within the support system, so that everything will be in one place. And it is not just the processes that is feeding this information. Other elements, for example, communication, objectives, and other screens will feed this information. Okay, and the software is self-explanatory if you just read this section over here. So this page has been preloaded with the list of job titles outlined in the organization chart. If you would like to add more job titles, you first need to update the organization chart. As soon as you click that button, it will take you to the organization chart page, where here you can see add any job titles or any people that you'd like. You can click generate chart and it will generate the new chart for you. Okay, so back to the job descriptions. Furthermore, the job descriptions for each job title is common to all ISO implementations. Updating this screen will also affect the corresponding screens and other certifications. I also wanted to highlight, as regards the job descriptions, that here you have a place where you can add any other roles and responsibilities that a person might have relating to their particular job title, and here we will need to define the list of competencies that is required by a person to be able to do their particular job. And the last part that I wanted to speak about in this video relates to the forms and records section. So this is typically something that we would work together during the implementation of your ISO standard, but you have to understand that this part relates to the support systems. What are support systems? I like to call support systems as those processes that the customer doesn't pay you to do, but expects you to have in place. For example, the customer expects you to have some type of equipment maintenance plan if you have equipment that is relevant to your job, but they don't want you to do the actual maintenance. They want you to have equipment that is ready and available whenever they need it. Same thing goes for people. They don't tell you, listen, make sure that you train your employees. No, they will just expect that your employees will be able to answer any questions that they might have and that they are competent to do their job. They won't tell you, listen, do supplier evaluation, but they will expect that you work with reputable suppliers who will protect the needs of them as customers. Okay, so another thing is that your customers won't tell you to have a system on how to manage complaints or corrective actions, but it is ideal to have a system, and also a requirement of ISO 9001, to have a system for corrective and preventive actions to make sure that everything is being tackled, and we don't only deal with corrective actions for that moment, but also we understand what the root cause is to make sure that we do not repeat the same mistakes over and over again. That is all I had to say for this particular video about MS-ROG. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. I would be always happy to answer any questions that you might have, either about the software itself, about ISO in general, or about how you can further improve your processes within your organization. And until then, I wish you a great day ahead. Thank you so much.